It's time to bring you yet another amazing episode. And now, welcome your host.
Good to have you on the podcast. My name is Omobola Stephen, the host of the podcast Library from Omobola Stephen. On the podcast, we like to explore topics and subjects that are related to personal development and self-improvement. We always emphasize the need for us to embrace personal development and self-improvement along the course of our lives, because when we do so, we tend to find our way, find ourselves along the way, and in finding ourselves, realize that there's so much joy and also a sense of fulfillment when we realize who we truly are, and also what innate potentials and possibilities that lies inside of us, and also the beautiful bounties that life has in store for us when we don't give up in embracing personal developments and also the changes that occur with improving ourselves and personally embracing the positive transformation that life is always willing to offer us. The mission and the focus on Library by Omobola Stephen is for us to offer disruptive yet constructive mindship conversations that are transformative, and also pivoting the positive changes that you and I need in order to live a fulfilling life at the end of the day. Today, I have Dr. Danielle Thompson PhD, who is the co-author of the SEISMIC IMPRINT Project, which discusses the power of a person's unique contribution to change the world. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Library by Omobola Stephen, Danielle Thompson.
Thank you. It's so nice to be with you today. I'm excited to have this conversation. It's so important.
Absolutely, it's very important to have this conversation, and looking forward to a worthwhile time as we explore on the topic of the ripple effect of values, how individual actions are rooted in strong values create meaningful change that extends beyond ourselves. Such an interesting and important topic, you will say. And so now, when we are not finding our sense of fulfillment and authenticity in our life, should we conclude that our actions and values are being misplaced or misaligned? Now, how can we get it right?
So it's such a great question, right? And it seems like we would kind of know the answer that, of course, when you're in alignment, right, things are going to work smoothly in your life. You're going to be happier. All of those things are true. The problem that we've seen for people is that oftentimes we're acting on a value system. Obviously, we're working in the world. We feel, most people anyway, feel like they're good and right people trying to do their best. And that really is true. But without unpacking and really knowing what your values are and where they came from, also, a lot can be upbringing. We're living kind of these, what others have called these kind of secondhand experiences. We're living other people's ideas or value systems out, and they're in conflict oftentimes with things that we want to accomplish in life or how we feel good about ourselves. So even when it might appear that we're in alignment because our external lives look successful, but we're feeling unhappy, then why is that? Where is that misalignment coming from? And so bringing kind of a conscious awareness to unpacking your value system, just kind of looking at everything with a big bright light on it. What we found in the SEISMIC IMPRINT project and in other projects that we worked on is that that makes a huge difference when you're really in alignment with your authentic self. You mentioned authenticity, and really living authentically and knowing what it is that your, for lack of a better, soul or spirit is kind of calling out for is sometimes a little more difficult than it might seem like it would be.
Really, going a little bit deeper on this, some school of thought opines that it is possible to find one's personal values. Now, I'm just wondering in my head, is this something we stumble upon? Is this something that is developed, or is it an innate thing? Can we talk more about how we can find true value?
There's lots of different ways to do from other things in your life. Obviously, parents and your upbringing and teachers and people that have been trying to help you formulate how you're supposed to live in the world all end up kind of becoming this amalgamation of your own value system. You've kind of created what you think is the right way to live in the world. One thing that I've done in workshops with people that people seem to have responded pretty well to is to start someplace with some questions where they kind of get to think about themselves outside of kind of the normal ways to do it, right? Because if somebody just asks you your value system, you're like, well, of course I'm honest. Nobody's like, well, I really believe in lying and cutting corners. Doing this, you're oftentimes maybe not even being honest with yourself about what you're truly valuing for your life. But when you start asking yourself questions like, what is the in your family story? All families have their lore, right? Your ancestors did this, your great aunt, came over, worked her way up, became successful, whatever it is in your family's history that really kind of resonates for you. Right? If there's a person or a story that is highlighting, there's certain characteristics of another person that really like you respond to, you take great pride in that you think you're like that person or you aspire to be like that person, or you might know that maybe that story is a little like on the darker or edgier side, but they resonate with you, you kind of know that you are, you feel a connection to that person. Though that's one way of possibly starting to kind of unpack those parts of yourself that maybe you're denying or that you don't feel comfortable fully embracing. A television character show or a movie, there's certain characters that you respond to, that you really resonate with, that you like or really don't like for some reason. And those are all ways that you can start kind of just asking yourself questions. And then from there, you can take, there's all kinds of ways to look at values. There's things online that you can just Google and it'll come up and you pick several of your value, pick your top 5, right? What do you think are the top 5 things that you most resonate with that? But then you've got to put those two things together. The things that you know that you resonate with, right? If it's being extraordinary, one of the questions I like to ask people is, do you want to live an extraordinary life or a comfortable life? Which one would you prefer? There's not a right or wrong on there. But when you start to answer that and kind of know why you want to be comfortable or you have this vision of being extraordinary, then you juxtapose that to what you've also said are your value system through a list of values. Then you start to see where there's a rub sometimes and some things are in conflict. And so to really be in alignment, you have to get those things to truly connect and align. And so you have to be able to see where they're not. And so there's lots of different techniques that will help you do that. And they really work. And it almost in a lot of ways doesn't matter where you start because you're going to get to that place once you start the exploration or with the help of others.
Really, Danielle, so when can we say values have 2 meanings?
You are living them out, right? Where you really are in alignment, where internally what you believe to be true about yourself is externally how you're acting. I think it's seamless. You're not in a constant state of thinking about it because you embody the things that you believe, and you act in the world, and you recognize those actions, right? We all know that feeling when you're outside of alignment. You know what that feeling is. We just have we have very elaborate mechanisms to explain those things away, rather than kind of getting real with yourself and where they're not showing up. So for instance, a more negative maybe example of that, it would be if you have been either conditioned or for whatever reason, you need to be ultra successful. That's the way your family expected you to be. You're in this kind of constant fight to show people that you have an outward success. You have, money, status, whatever it is for you, because that's your concept of extraordinary and living a good life, right? But internally, you really value very highly being comfortable or peaceful, or want to kind of have more of a serene life, maybe with less things, but you're not really conscious about that. You might start to do things that are that show up in the world in the form of kind of harming people without intending to, right? You might take credit for other people's work. You might, if you're in a leadership position, because you need to maintain that outward appearance of success. Or this can be very small ways that you're doing it, very kind of larger ways that you're doing it. And not because you're inherently this bad person or anything. You're just those two things, what you believe externally you need to show, and internally what you truly do value and how you want to live your life, are just in conflict. And you've given the one side more value than the other. You've given the external expectations more value than your own personal value system, if that makes sense.
All right. Thanks for sharing that insight, Danielle. Now, many people are driven by values and not their purpose. I'd just like us to explore this important topic about purpose. Can we just suppose the importance of purpose and value as regards finding fulfillment in a life?
Likely, if you're living out your purpose, that is in alignment with your values. You'll have a lot more success. Things will be easier. It won't be as difficult to navigate in the world. But finding your purpose can be really difficult, right? What are your skills? What do you truly think you're here to do? And that comes from a broad range of different places. For people that live a faith-based life, they really can feel that they're here to live out a specific mission, depending on the faith system. For others, there might just be a want to contribute in a meaningful way, and a feeling of lack if that's not in alignment. So your purpose and figuring out what is really good for you to do, it does take a little bit of work and introspection, but maybe not as much as you might think. In our project, in the SEISMIC IMPRINT project, we interviewed 50 people that were making a huge contribution in the world in what might seem like small ways in some instances, but you mentioned it, that kind of ripple effect. Your purpose also comes from kind of knowing that those skills and attributes within you that really help the world. And for instance, there's several people within the project that they really are living out their purpose in the workplace, and really everywhere. But one example is when they're living in alignment with their purpose is knowing what they bring. So one person does a lot of change management because they really are empathetic person. They understand other people, and they pay attention to their needs, and they're able to articulate that to others and people of other leadership positions in order to make the rollout of a project, for example, easier, because their purpose, or they feel, and some of their really strong attributes, is to be able to connect others, help them be lifted up, and in order to kind of smooth out and solve their problems in a way that is very that feels good also to the receiver of the person that needs help with the change. And so it doesn't have to be that you find your path of volunteering in the world or starting an organization. It can be, how do your skills and attributes that are in alignment with your values, really, how can you show up in the world in everything that you're doing? That way, you're going to be happier, and the people around you are going to be happier.
All right,
Makes
now,
a big
all right, you can go ahead.
No, it makes a much larger impact. And I don't think people realize how sometimes in doing this work, it was clear that a lot of people didn't realize the huge contribution that they were making to others around them, because they weren't the CEO, or they weren't doing, in their minds, anything that great, but they were really helping other people and contributing, and what they were bringing was so much bigger than what they thought that they were, which was really great to be able to kind of show that.
All right, away from our values, I like us to just attend to one's unique strength. How can a person understand their unique strengths? And having understood the strengths that they possess within, when they find this out, what is next for them?
So what we found is that people went about it in all kinds of different ways, which was great, right? As many types of people that there are, there's as many ways to start doing something. So some people went from a place of what they didn't like. They started there, for instance. So some people, it was very physical. Maybe they didn't like kind of their level of fitness or their weight or their health, or they had an issue with that. So what they started to do was kind of get real first about their physical health. That's going to bring you then to, well, how did you get here? If it was something that happened over time. Why weren't you taking care of yourself? It's going to lead you to this kind of mental space of trying to understand yourself better. And then really you also get to the place of, and then is my space in the world? What do I have to give? What do I want to do? How do I connect outwardly with other people? And so there is, whether you want to call it mind, body, spirit connection, or connecting to yourself, connecting to the world, whatever your understanding of it is, there's kind of a process that people enter at all different phases to kind of connect to themselves, their own mind and body. And then understanding themselves brings that where they can contribute in more robust ways outward. However, having said that, it can also work outward in. So it's mostly what we found was around paying attention and being the people that we interviewed for this project. They got to places in all different ways around getting real with themselves, understanding themselves really, really well, and knowing and being okay with that. Right? Some things you're great at, some people, it led them to a place also where they could really appreciate the strengths in other people and not feeling a need to compete, because they knew what they were really strong in and how they could show up and how they could contribute in a group. There a lot less competition happening because there just was no need for it. And so there's all kinds of things that happen when you find those skills and attributes and purpose, and you align that with a value system that ripple gets bigger because people also know that, like they're okay with, they want you to contribute, they want to collaborate. You get to do more interesting things because you know where you stand on, if that makes sense.
Sure. Now, I'd like us to talk about how we can just merge our unique strengths and values. How can we utilize this very two important aspect to achieve the goals that we intend in life and really live a meaningful life at the end of the day?
By getting real with all of it. Why do you have the goal you have? Right? Is that in alignment with things that you actually want to do? Is it things that you have the skills for? Right? That awareness piece, when you really can focus and understand yourselves and give space for other people in the world and how you're going to contribute to the larger group, you have to really be able to see yourself clearly and look to be and understand others. And so if you have a goal for whatever it is, right? If that's to even to make money, to find love, to live a happier life, to be healthier, whatever that is, if you don't feel like you have that right now, why is that? Right? To kind of understand yourself and realize that there might be things you have to learn, or there might be things you have to change. There might be things that really they don't really work for you, and you keep trying to make them because you think you're supposed to want that thing that you don't really want. Or if you do want it, you're not in the right space for it, or you don't have the skill for it. So you don't want to put the work in for it. And if that's true, if you really don't want to do something, why is that? And so it's a lot more about getting real with yourself, and so that you can then be good with where you know it. And we also found that makes it a lot easier for you to give space to other people as they're kind of trying to find that, or to understand them and to be curious about others, because it starts you on a process of not, you got to be kind to yourself, because we do a lot to hide things from ourselves, just as much as we do to hide it from others. So some things are really a surprise. They become a surprise as much to the individual setting out on that journey as it might be to a stranger to learn about you.
And Danielle, what's your view about the values in today's society?
One reason why we started this project, we set out to do this work, was because of so much conflict. There's so much conflict, and we purposely chose to interview people of all different backgrounds, all different age groups, socioeconomic status, race, religion, all different. And what we found, though, externally, we're in conflict, right? You can feel that around that. But when you talk to individuals, it's really not different. It's such a cliche thing about how similar we are as humans. And there's a real beauty in that. Because there is really more that brings us together than that divides us. But when you have, again, when your values and the external pieces that you think you're supposed to want or how you're supposed to behave or all of these things that are expectations around group membership, whatever that group may be, that you've really embodied, you've taken on without sometimes much thought, not intentionally, right? We're conditioned, and we behave in certain ways and we think things are just kind of normal and natural without much kind of thought or reflection about it. So it really, the fascinating part about kind of doing a cross-section of a small cross-section of the world and different, from different standpoints, is that basically it came down to the root of getting real with yourself, and different things started that process for different people, but they got real, very, very real with themselves, understanding some of that kind of early programming or why they thought the way that they did, and then how they worked to kind of overcome that in some cases, or integrate it or work with it to be more in alignment in the world. And they were much happier personally by doing it. Their environments were much more productive and successful. It doesn't mean nobody has any problems. They're still living in the world, but they navigate through it in a very, very different way because of that process internally.
Thank you so much, Danielle Thompson. Now, we are super excited about any upcoming project that you think is going to be beneficial to the audience of the podcast. Come on, you can share that if you have any.
We're still working on this, on SEISMIC IMPRINT, because, doing workshops and different events to help people find that, have a place to start. We have some free resources on the website. All of the people that were part of the initial project, their stories, there are many of them, they have individual, businesses or organizations that are there to help people, or they're just willing to talk to somebody and share their stories and anybody that might resonate. And because the goal is to do our small part to hopefully calm some of this real divisiveness around everybody. We don't have to compete. You have something wonderful to give to the world right now, even without much more than what you know about yourself right this second. And the goal is to kind of give you tips to tap into that so that you feel better, and you're feeling in more alignment with your purpose and your values. And it really does spread. It sounds so Pollyanna-ish, but we've seen it happen. It's a beautiful thing. And giving space for other people, as well as really kind of knowing yourself and setting good boundaries between yourself and others sometimes, it's just so much easier to do. It's a lot less complicated than you would think. It's just hard sometimes to do it, but it's not complicated.
So thank you so much, Danielle Thompson. And also, we really appreciate the great work SEISMIC IMPRINT Project is offering to the global world indeed. Can you share your social media handles and your website?
Yeah, it's seismicimprint.com. You can take a short quiz if you want to see, which type of bridge builder, what identity you might want to start with, who you might resonate with. We also have a really fun thing, or we think it is, because it was less about, again, we were initially thinking to quantify everything, which we did in the book, to think, what is your ripple effect? How does each action kind of spread out? But what we realized is that in talking to everybody is the real strength was your individual contribution makes this beautiful picture in the world, right? You leave your unique fingerprint that only you can do. It really is unique to you, even if you have similar traits. So we have a part on the website where you can put in and turn your actions, the impact that you're already making, into these little art pieces. And you can do it for free. Just put in, you can pick the actions, things that you do in your daily life that you might not realize are making a huge contribution, but they are. And then it generates an image, a mosaic image that's tied to individual elements of that for each action. So it's kind of our fun way to that you can see that you're bringing beauty to the world and have a little personalized piece of art, electronic art for yourself. So you can do that. You can get some free resources. You can connect with people that are bridge builders right now, and they can help you. There's all kinds of way to do it. Just hopefully you'll get involved and interact, and we'd love to hear other people's stories as well.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Danielle Thompson. From the bottom of my heart, sincerely, and on behalf of the audience of the podcast, Lavioli Omobola Stephen, we wish you best of luck in the project SEISMIC IMPRINT and all the projects that you will be embarking upon in the nearest future. Danielle Thompson, you're the co-author of the SEISMIC IMPRINT Project, which discusses the power of a person's unique contribution to change the world. Now, it's been great having you share your expertise and your professional experience as we explore on the topic of the ripple effect of values, how individual actions rooted in strong values create meaningful change that extend beyond ourselves. Good to know, and also appreciate your time and also offering your valuable contribution to the topic of discussion. Danielle?
Having me, it's been so much fun.
Absolutely. Thank you once again. It's been Lavioli Omobola Stephen. If you'd like to catch up with any missed episodes of the podcast, absolutely, you can catch up on any podcast distribution platforms you bump into online, and also any cross-promotion platforms online. Just search for Lavioli Omobola Stephen, and there you go. I guarantee you, you're going to have a great time listening to expert professionals who have been there and done that, all about personal development and self-improvement. Insight that will transform your life and pivoting the positive changes that you and I need to live a fulfilling life indeed. Till I come your way, I need you always to stay safe. Thank you once again, Danielle. We had a worthwhile time indeed.
Have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Sure, I will. And you too.
If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you subscribe and leave us a review.